Welcome to another episode of Vitals and Values. This episode is a fun one. It's on a year of review of Concierge Medicine of West Michigan with Lara.
Yay. We have almost been open an entire year, and I can hardly believe it.
Isn't that wild?
Yes. I mean, it went fast in somewhat sense. Change that happened in myself and in the business in a year that
And see, I will say, business hat, it's always fun to see how this process goes. Just like with health and with fitness and all this kind of stuff, it is a lifelong pursuit. There's always ways to make it better and stronger value and all this kind of stuff. I really wanted to take this episode and ask you questions on different dynamics of starting the practice because you're a year in review.
yes.
The honeymoon phase is over.
Was there a
There's
honeymoon phase? I don't know. I don't
And
know if that was a thing.
yeah, and so like there's things that have gone really well. There's things you want to work on and develop.
Mhm.
Start with some really fun factors of why concierge medicine has its place. What are some of the uh, patient outcomes you've experienced over the last year that have been fun to see?
Yeah. I mean, I think the goal of anybody in primary care is preventative care, which is what myself and my sister Jana, the other physician, are very passionate about. And so for us, preventative care means keeping people healthy and avoiding medications and avoiding chronic medical issues. And so in a traditional practice that I was working at before, you would see people one time a year sometimes, and then they would return with the exact same problem they had the year prior because you only saw them once a year and nothing would change. And so to be able to see our patients over the past year multiple times and work with them on getting off of medications, on losing weight, on just truly understanding their health better, which is hard to quantify, but it's still important because so many people are confused by their place in the medical system. And to be able to make that a more comfortable position for people has been some of the best outcomes.
Nice. Anything specific? Obviously, HIPAA, you can't say names. Is there anything specific of that you've experienced this past year?
Yeah, so I know of a couple patients that we've worked with to get off of medications, which if you listen to the current rhetoric in social media, all physicians are trying to keep patients on medications because they're getting paid for it, right?
Duh.
Yeah. So no, we are very proud of the fact that our patients work hard to get off of medication. So we've been able to work with many patients on that. And a lot of that is corresponding to their weight loss goals as well, because a lot of times as people lose weight, they're able to come off of blood pressure medications or diabetes medications or things like that. But we've also had patients that came to us on medications that after seeing them going through their history, going through their records, we realized why were they even started on that medication? Some of these people had been taking medications for 10 to 15 years. And we kind of looked through everything and determined that they never needed it in the first place.
Any specifics?
The one I can think of off the top of my head was a patient who was diagnosed 15 years ago, I believe, with PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome. And she was placed on metformin, which is a very common medication used in that condition. And this was actually my sister's patient, but she worked with her, going through her history very thoroughly, her history of her eating habits, with her exercise habits, and really determined that her symptoms from years prior were not from PCOS, but they were from underfueling and low energy availability. And so really the PCOS diagnosis was not accurate. She was on this metformin medication for really no reason because she didn't have PCOS. So I think that was the coolest one. And the patient was just kind of almost upset. Like, how could I have been put on this medication and taken it for 15 years and not have needed it? And so I think that really speaks to the fact that we have the time with our patients to dive into that history a lot more, because that is really some of the foundation of medicine is history taking. And when you have 5-minute appointments, your history taking is incredibly limited. But really getting to know your patients and have the time with them, that really amplifies your ability to care for them.
Gotcha. Very cool. Now, on that step going forward a little bit, because patient care timeline, all that kind of stuff, from the traditional insurance based model of lab testing and all this kind of stuff, Have you experienced certain labs that you do more now that you didn't back then, or is everything pretty much copacetic with what you did before?
I mean, there's a baseline that's pretty standard, I would say still, but we like to bring in, and it depends on the patient, but we talk with them about it, but advanced cardiac testing, like things like LP little a and ApoB are something we have done with a lot more patients than I did in my prior practice. And then we're a little bit more aggressive about different hormone testing, not for all things. Like, I'm not just out there testing people for hormones all the time, but I would say more than a traditional doctor, I'm willing to work with my patients on some of those different lab tests. And there are different lab tests out there. There's a lot of companies out there that are a lot in the functional medicine world of gut testing and a lot of these more advanced, it's just like these massive swaths of labs that people want
Yeah,
that I don't
because someone on the
necessarily.
internet told me I should
Yeah,
do it.
I don't necessarily agree with all of them, but we have people that come to us that have been doing certain testing for years, and they want to keep doing it. And so we try to be very collaborative with our patients and say, "Hey, this may not be something that I would say recommend to all my patients doing for these reasons, but you're doing it. You like the results from it. It's not harming you in any way. So, hey, we can work with you and do some of these lab testing with the understanding that I don't. I think all of it is super useful." And I talk to people about that, and they're like, "Cool, that sounds fine." So we've had to connect with different lab companies that do these tests and say, and come up with, make accounts with them. And so understand what our patients are hearing back on these tests because a lot of these tests people can do on their own. They don't need a doctor. So if you're out there just getting lab tests and then getting results from the company and not talking to a physician about it, I think that you're missing a big piece of the interpretation. And so to have a physician who can go through that with you and say, hey, I don't necessarily think this specific test is that important for you, and this is why. But some of these other pieces to this whole group of labs may be helpful. I think that's where patients really you can build trust with them, and they can really understand that you are caring for them and listening to them, and I think that's the key, is patients do wanna feel listened to, and we're able to do that.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're noticing that big
Oh,
difference of,
yeah.
like, time. Now, that works out perfectly into my next question, which is you go from 7 minutes, 30, 60, sometimes 90 minutes with a patient. Some of it good, some of it like, "Wow, we went on a tangent."
Yes.
What are some of the most ridiculous tangents you've gone on with patients that you're like, "Well, I'm glad I got to know you more, but."
Well, I've learned a lot of, full life stories of 80-year-olds. I get that's cool, but, that's good. I've had a lot of conversations about vacations. There's a lot of vacation talking. I started one of my appointments earlier this week with a patient, and for the first 30 minutes, we probably talked about weddings and engagements because she knew that I got engaged.
That's fun.
And so we had a long conversation about that. And so I'm able to do that not all the time, but when I can, I don't mind. And patients love it. And it's a really cool way to connect with them.
Yeah, and you can definitely see and understand why the average person feels so disconnected from their doctor because they don't have time to build personal relationships. It's 7 minutes, so give me the nuts and bolts, and I don't care about your experience because I just need to move the needle on your blood work, and that's the only. And you wonder why patients struggle with personal buy-in from their doctor because there's no relationship building. There's no collaborative effort anymore inside the traditional like insurance model because there isn't the time to develop that relationship where other opportunities could.
I would try in my prior practice to like have a little bit of like personal touch to each visit. But then some people, you bring up one specific thing like, oh, hey, how's your cat doing? And then they go off on a 5-minute story, and you're like, I know we don't have time for this, like, this is the problem, like, we got I was just asking how the cat was, I didn't need the full story, but people want yeah, I know, right? There's a waffles, I don't know. So, anyways, I think I agree with you on that 100% that there is such a disconnect between people and their physicians just because of the lack of.
Now, from looking back at the last year, I have an answer to this, but I'm very intrigued on yours. So, you're celebrating over 100 patients now. You're growing at a very stable, steady pace. What have been the experiences with patient buy-in, considering now compared to when you're in like the traditional insurance-based model where you had 2,000 plus patients to deal with, 7 minutes? so far, a year in, how has that experience been with like helping the patient make some health progress? And what do you think that comes from?
Yeah, I think patients, when they come to us now, they are making an active choice. They're saying, I am stepping away from what I was doing and I'm choosing you and I'm putting essentially money down on the line. And I think that is very motivating to people. They're not going to do that and then not come in and see me. Now, you have the people that want a concierge doctor because they love the convenience. They don't really want to see you all that often. They just want you there when they need you. But I would say that's the minority of the patients we get. Most of our patients are like, okay, I have you now. What can we do together so I can become healthier or stay healthy?
This is my tangent with that. This is why like so many of the relative, I'm going to say it loosely, like the charlatans that have incredible health transformational stories on the internet, the reason why they get such crazy transformations of whatever is because this is like we're going into the money models where when you're in the traditional insurance world, you're paying a 20, 30, $40 copay. The amount of value someone takes from 7 minutes of a disconnected relationship plus 20 to $40 compared to 30, 60, 90-minute deep conversations on someone's health and habitual patterns and their medical concerns, plus decently solid financial buy-in. The average person, from my point of view, is just going to have more accountability from like, I'm going to see these benefits. It's like, I find it so funny. Like, this is a tangent of concierge medicine, and we've kind of talked about it, where so many people have set the status quo that I'm not here to pay my doctor. That's what insurance is for. And then like $3,000 a year. What? And then it's like, do you know how many fitness gurus on the internet charge $2,500 for 6 months of coaching? Like people don't bat an eyelash at it, and they're having crazy transformations because people that are willing to drop $2,500 to drop weight, they're like, I'm gonna see these benefits. So then they stop drinking the alcohol, build a better fitness routine. They eat more whole foods. They do all the behavioral lifestyle stuff they need to do because they're like, all right, if I'm thrusting this money, I'm going to see the results. Like, have you seen that experience so far within the transition from insurance based to like membership based on personal buy-in from patients?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people are way more motivated to do what I recommend they do than I've ever had before. And it's really, I mean, it's great on both sides because it makes it easier for me to do my job because I realize that people are actually listening and are going to care about what I say. Because honestly, there are people that would come to see me in the past at my prior job that were there because they needed the form filled out for their physical so they could get a cheaper insurance premium or whatever it was. And so you're like, why do I even waste my time talking to them about their lifestyle? They're not there for that. They're there to get their form signed. And so that kind of work day in and day out can really make it difficult for you to care and try for some of your patients. And I don't have that anymore, which is a huge blessing.
That's fun. Now, with the amount of meet and greets you've had and personal patients you have, has there been any like unrealized expectations that, "Well, I didn't know this amount of people thought this way," or is pretty much every person you saw asking for the same things? Has there been unique stuff put in there?
I would say, I mean, there's nuances of difference. Like I said, some people aren't there for lifestyle advice. Like people are always like, "My doctor didn't talk to me about lifestyle, about exercise, nutrition." I'll tell you still and currently in this practice, as well as my prior, like not everybody is asking for that. I'm just letting you know, not everyone really wants me to keep telling them to strength train. I see it in people's eyes. They glaze over. They're like, oh my gosh, here she goes again, telling me to strength train. And so not everyone is there for that. But I think there's different groups of people that are looking for different things. And that's what we try to do is tailor what we do for our patients to what people need. And I know what's best for their health from a goal standpoint, but you can't tell someone to start strength training who has no interest in strength training. Like it's just like you can't just tell them you gotta start doing that 3 days a week. That's where relationship building comes in and you have to work with them and see them change and grow over time with you.
This just popped up. I didn't even think about this one, but it goes really well off of that. You guys just got an in-body, and we were just talking about this. We were working that with a patient of yours earlier, about how the importance of lean muscle mass and how it can affect blood sugar regulation and how it can help with controlling your A1. I still find it fascinating the amount of people that have never heard of an in-body. It's so crazy. Yeah, I'm just like, oh, that's been around for forever. Like, what? I have an in-body personal one at home. It's
Uh,
not as cool as the one you guys have, but it's like this has been around for forever. I don't know, but how's that process been so far with like 2 weeks?
Yeah, it's been a couple of weeks and not much. And so I've just been more like offering it to people who it seems to fit with their visit and say, hey, we could do this and get this additional information. And there's been people that have never heard of it. Like I said, like you said, that they're like, oh, that's kind of cool. And some people have a little more understanding of what body fat percentage and skeletal muscle mass means. But there's been a few patients where it's been like, oh, that's really happening. So you may look thin and healthy to the world, but your body composition shows that some things need to change. And so that is really cool to be able to work with a patient on that and say, you know what, there's more to your health than the number on the scale from both a heavy perspective, like too much weight, and a low weight,
Mhm.
which has been really a great way to get people to understand what I'm trying to tell them, why muscle is so important.
What points did you get? In-body, it has a point system?
So there's a scoring
What's
system.
your score?
It's lower than yours.
What is it?
It's 87.
What is mine?
I think you were 100 and what?
I'm 100. I'm literally gonna be over what is possible because
So David, of all the people that have used our in-body scale, he is winning. So if you think that you can beat David on the in-body
it ain't
scale,
happening.
come in and we'll do a scan.
Do you think with these pec pops that anyone has beaten me with an in-body score? I'd love to see it. It ain't happening. Come on.
I
Look at
think this
these
is a
pec
great
pops.
challenge. I
Come on.
want people to tell us what their in-body score is.
Tell your patients. Let's see if you can beat this. It's actually funny because we were breaking this down on the in-body scores and how they do it. Rachel Klausing, if you are watching this, I think you're probably the only female that I know of in this area that could probably beat my number. I'm very intrigued. You have to come in and find out. Like, I'm like, who has a crazy high muscle mass to body fat ratio? I'm like,
All right, shout out to Rachel. Get in
yeah.
contact.
We were
We're ready
talking
for
about
you.
maybe knowing her, she probably already has her.
She probably
She's
does.
probably done an in-body somewhere. But I would like if is she over? Because I'll be honest, we were just doing that number. We were doing those breakdowns, and it was interesting how um, the point system seems that it doesn't evenly convey male to female from what the numbers we saw. But again, I'm very intrigued on like I want to know like, and I was like, okay, who's
So for those out there who don't know, Rachel Klausane was in the CrossFit Games recently. She's an
yes,
awesome, amazing, strong athlete.
she's jacked. And
Come on,
I'm like,
Rachel, we're ready for you.
based up because this is the whole thing. InBody has an proprietary. I was
You have to
trying to
score
figure
it, yeah.
out how they do their scoring because I like just how because again, there's the hard numbers. There's how much lean muscle mass do you have on your body? What is your body fat percentage? What is all the skeletal muscle mass? All that kind of stuff. But then they have a point system that's proprietary to them, and it's just a cool way, just like in so many things, to help gamify to the average person their general body composition, which is cool.
We realize it's not perfect for you people out there. We realize InBody is not the perfect measure and it has its problems, but it's a great tool in our
Oh,
office.
100%. I just found it fun. I just want to know, like, and I was like, who? Because it seemed like they were giving unfair, like, again, you and your sister were 87 and 90.
91.
Yeah, your sister's 91.
She's
And I'm
beating
like,
me.
you guys are jacked. If you're 87 and 91, like, you're in the top 0.5, top 5%, top 1% of females' body compositions. So I'm sitting there going, like, how am I 100?
Are way bigger.
Well, but that's what I'm saying, though. So I'm like,
I agree with you. It does seem to be disproportionate with skeletal muscle mass, like that
how their
specific
point
number.
system
Yeah,
works.
but
And again, it has nothing to do
the
with
point
the
system is
quality.
not that big of a deal, people. It's just kind of fun.
It's just hopefully context and nuance, guys. We're not saying it's bad, but I just find it fast. I find it may be a little sexist. It may be InBody may be a little sexist.
So I will never be
Sorry.
David on the InBody score.
Sorry, InBody.
And we love you, InBody. Thank you for all you do. You're great.
All right. Well, as we kind of transition from that, I guess a lot of it's been on a patient lens.
Mhm.
Business.
Yes.
Doctors are taught a lot in med school about how to run a business. What has been that experience been like? What has gone smoother than expected? What has been a learning curve that's taken longer?
Yeah. Well, I mean, some people start a business after they get an MBA and they go to school and they learn and they do, I don't know, whatever. Now, we did not do that. We went from medicine to business. And so we utilized or we asked for help from people that have done this before us. And so that is why we used a consulting company to help us, which has been incredibly beneficial for us to not make a million mistakes that we would have made otherwise. But from a business standpoint, I think it's gone well. Now I feel like I'm learning something every single day that I didn't know before, and David's constantly giving me, tips on how to be better at business, which is great. Even
I try.
today, before we got here, we were getting
Yeah.
I think
Automations.
yeah,
How to make sure that you don't get death by busy work.
we do not like busy work, so always a
We want to
learning
focus
process.
all of our efforts on the patient. So there's all these automations that we can work on to help focus all of her efforts on the patient.
So, we're still making progress towards better automations. But I mean, the I constantly tell people that I think the thing that I knew the least about and has been the biggest learning curve is just marketing in general. And I think that's because I didn't know anything about marketing, and I don't like that it's not black and white. Like, it's not like this. If you do this, you get this outcome. Like, it doesn't work that way. And so learning that took some time. And I think I'm getting okay with that now. But it's been just understanding marketing a little bit more, how it works, how to do it has been, I think, one of the more challenging pieces.
See, but I'd also say from outside looking in, you've been in Grand Rapids Magazine, what, twice now? You've been on TV, you've done all these different things. And I would guess a lot of people would be like, how the frick are you guys getting all this PR? And what do you think it is?
Well, I mean, a lot of that was a lot of just networking. Like, going to events, meeting people who worked for the magazine, cold emailing people from magazines. Literally, I didn't know what I was doing, and I just contacted some editors, and a few of them got back to you and got back to me. And so then we started a relationship that's led to some of this. And so that was something I didn't realize even at the time that I was doing it was unique and not it's not common to just get free, uh, articles in magazines, but if you're nice to people, you talk to people, sometimes things happen.
Great things happen. Great opportunities come from being at the right place with the right time and doing the right actions.
That's true.
But as we follow up into year two,
Yes.
what are you looking forward to?
Year 2, I'm looking forward to getting some of the business operations pieces a little bit more smooth, because when you start, that's just not where you're at. At least we weren't.
Yeah, it's like year one, you're kind of running by the seat of your pants,
Uh-huh.
and that's kind of like there's you're putting out small fires, little fires, little
Bringing
fires,
here and
little
there.
fires, and it's like, all right, we've had to put this fire out 4 times. Let's create a process so we never have to deal with this fire again. And like, but there's certain things that you can't plan for. You just got to run it and see how things.
Yeah,
You know?
and so getting into a larger patient volume and kinda seeing where the bottlenecks are in like a day-to-day operations, just trying to streamline that and figure out best ways to make that happen. I mean, obviously we want to grow more, so we are continuing to try to find new patients or people who value what we do and people who value their health and want to work with us on that. And so we obviously want to grow, and that's a big piece of it. And I think honestly those are the big things, which maybe seems lame, but that I think is where I'm at.
Well, I mean, again, you're in a position where it's like, I only know as much as I know right now, and based upon my lens, this is what I know.
Yeah, and I mean, people will be like, "What's your 5-year plan?" You have to have very specific plans for 5 like, "Where do you wanna be?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't I want to some degree, see how the business grows and then adjust my plans as that occurs." So, and I think some people would agree with that, and some people would disagree that that's a bad plan, but that's where I'm at. I didn't start this practice with, like, a 20-year future massive goal.
Mhm.
Some people do, we did not. And so I
It's like Joey from a couple of podcasts ago, where he had the heart to heart with his client, was like, he really wanted abs. And he's like, well, if you want abs, you have to do these 7 things. And are you willing to give up these 7 things to do that? Because you're in good health. There's nothing wrong. And then what happens is, I think this happens a lot, like even myself and a lot of people in the health and fitness space, they get so obsessed with the idea of having abs, they don't realize the cost in having abs, that until you actually experience it, you're like, yeah, that's not worth the cost for me. And sometimes when you set these 5-year goals or these big, like whatever, you're not even in a position to know the cost in getting that yet. So it's like, and so you get so obsessed, you get so obsessed with that mantra that you don't understand what you're actually saying. Like, I want abs. And then someone who's had abs is, do you? I don't know if you actually do.
I want to have 3 locations in 10 years and I want to have this many employees and this many stuff. But I don't even know if that's what I would want because I haven't gotten to that point. And so I know I want to do really good patient care and take good care of my patients. And so however that looks, that's my goal. And I think to bring in the values piece of this conversation in this specific conversation, I think a lot of times we can be like, this is my goal for 10 years from now. Well, you know what? As a Christian, I believe God has a plan for my life, and you can make all the plans in the world, but if he's got a different plan, I don't think it matters what mine is. And so I do try to live with that faith too of he is gonna help me and guide me in that.
Grace, you don't make God laugh. Tell him your plans.
Exactly. So trying to be humble there and see where he leads.
Because again, like that's where at the end of the day, I try to live by the golden ticket for like mantra, which is at the end of the day, whether I die today, I die 50 years from now, won the battle of my faith in Christ and what that means. And whether I help 1 million people transform their health, great. I help 10 people, great. Whether I make millions of dollars with everything going on, great. If I don't, and I just work really hard, it doesn't pan out, God's grace, it doesn't actually matter. And I think that's where a lot of people's stressors come from, is this hyper obsession with outcomes. And at the end of the day, it's all fleeting. Like if your love for earthly possessions is the primary of what you're doing, it gets real stressful real quick.
Oh, yeah, and I think both my sister and I, when we started this business, really viewed this as God's business, and we are just stewards of what he has given us, and so we are just doing our best with his business, and whatever he wants us to do with it, that's what we'll do with it.
Make sure you pay your taxes because the Bible says so. Just so we're all clear.
We tried to pay our taxes, but some of them didn't go through, but we're working on it.
Learning curves.
It's gonna happen.
Oh, too funny. Now, as we kind of wrap this up, for anyone that's been watching from the distance, considering concierge medicine, what would you say to them?
Say that if you don't know about it, you should learn about it, and you should be interested in this because this is where care is going, in my opinion. People need better care than what is out there, and if they're unhappy, this is what I used to tell all my patients when they'd be like, I was seeing this specialist and I don't like him. I'm like, well, then find another one. Let's work on that. Like, you don't have to go to somebody that you don't like. So if you do not like your healthcare, look for something better. And concierge medicine is definitely that.
Love it. Well, a year celebrating. I know you have an event coming up with your current patients and all that kind of stuff. That'd be super fun.
Stay tuned. More details coming soon.
So yeah, with that being said, guys, celebrating 1 year concierge medicine West Michigan, pretty friggin' awesome.
Woo! And I'm gotta say, David here has been a big help in the whole
Nah,
business.
it's you.
So,
You
well,
guys did all this.
he was big help. So
Well,
couldn't have done it without you.
well, thank you.
All right. Have a phenomenal day, guys.
Thank you.